and welcome to episode 3 of the Livewire Gaming Show. That took us 5 takes because this idiot beside me couldn't stop talking for 10 seconds. Anyway, welcome.
That was a long 10 seconds.
That's what she said.
That's what she always says to me.
Anyway, this week we are going to discuss the recently begun Destiny 2 season of The Chosen. We're going to give our initial impressions on it and how we feel about it and where we think we're going with it. And if we have time, which it's us, we probably won't because we'll speak for an hour and a half on one fucking thing again, then we will talk about what our biggest disappointments in gaming was. For Dylan, it was the last 10 seconds. Anyway, how are you guys this week?
Good, yeah.
Disappointed that I can't keep quiet for 10 seconds.
Very few things you can do in 10 seconds. But
Yeah.
It's usually how long you survive for at the start of a game of Apex. Just ask it.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Anyway.
Ooh. The burn. Fucking hell.
Hey, Stephen, what have you been up
How do I
to
end
since
call?
last week's episode?
Yeah, so since last week I have resubscribed to Final Fantasy 14.
Regained your
so-
virginity.
Yep. Hey, someone's got to protect it.
Gain some
So-
hentai titties.
So they released, probably about a month ago, they released the latest patch 5.4, which includes some new main scenario quests. So there's about 10 of them. This one wasn't a great one. It's kind of building up towards 5.5, which will be the last one before the newly announced Endwalker, which, if you haven't seen the trailer for, is fantastic.
Wait, that only came out since last week's.
Yeah, that came out on Saturday.
That was a long week.
That was a long week. So I powered through the MSQ. It's leading up. You can see where it's leading to. I'm looking forward to it. And otherwise, then it's been kind of quiet, long enough week. I played a little bit of Season of the Chosen, which we'll talk about, and watched the latest episode of WandaVision. So that's pretty much been my week.
I haven't watched an episode.
Oh, come on. Spoiler free. Nobody likes listening to spoiler free.
I think at this
Okay,
stage,
you have 10 seconds. Go watch it.
I get a Wikipedia synopsis. What have you been up to do?
I started and I'm currently really enjoying Phoenix Rising on Switch. So take it with a pinch of salt, like graphics and stuff like that, and like 4 frames per second. But story is class. I really enjoy it.
You have on Cyberpunk, Stephen.
Both of us put together, probably. Yeah, no, it's really good. It's an open world kind of. I call it a Breath of the Wild light, but it's more like it's a little bit tamer on the open world and more focused on the story. Yeah, it's a really good story. Really enjoying it so far. It's getting to the mechanics. It's really good. And other than that, just been playing Apex and still looked at Destiny yesterday and the day before. It is Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, looked at it. That's about it. Then I was like, Apex. But yeah, other than that, same as Stephen, I watched WandaVision, unlike you. So, living the dream.
What have you been up to, Kev?
Yeah, I'm not watching WandaVision.
Not watching
all them
WandaVision.
extra 28 minutes.
Or doing the other things I said I'd do because, I wasnwell over the weekend. And during last week's show, but I'm better now, kind of. So in the last week, which was a long week, I got my shiny Registeel after 7,000 damn resets.
That is crazy. Like, I would have given up after 5.
5 resets, not 5,000, just to clarify.
No, 5. Yeah, 5.
5.
Single digit.
Single 5.
Yeah.
So I got my shiny, was relieved to be finally done with it. And that's 1 Reggie down, 5 to go. So after the relief and getting that done, I went straight in onto Regirock.
Oh god.
I'm through about 500, I think it was. 507. 507.
I can just imagine your hands having like the little pimples on every finger.
We were kind of laughing about this because me and Steven started doing Regirock at the same time. And in the time it took him to get through like 100 resets, I went through like 350. Just because I'm in such a
Jesus.
rhythm of click, click,
Yeah.
button, click, click, button. So, apart from that, the new Foo Fighters album came out last Friday, which I was quite excited for. But it's okay. It's fine.
First few songs are good. Yeah.
There's a couple of good songs, but like, if you look at Foo Fighters albums, they all have a couple, 2 or 3, 4 great, great songs. And even if you're not a Foo Fighters fan, you go, oh, I know that song, yeah, I know that song. There's none of those. So it continues.
Could be a grower though.
It could be. But it continues the trend of all new albums that release being disappointing apart from Slipknot's last album.
I think everything now,
Yeah.
we've experienced it so many times, and by so many different people, whether it be across different platforms of media, gaming, TV shows, movies. We're not surprised by anything anymore, and everything sounds like something else or feels like something else.
Spot the cynic.
I'm
Just saying,
like-
people need to temper their expectations and
Yeah.
enjoy little shit.
Like, it's
You
nice
know?
to get new music, in fairness. Apart from that, I kept playing more shiny hunting. I watched Louise continue her playthrough of Cyberpunk, and I'm so proud to say that she is even slower at playing games than I am. She's at
Impossible.
117 hours and hasn't finished the main story, but all she has left is literally the final mission, so they're about 3 hours to play through each. So I'm looking
Stephen,
forward.
put our total hours together and it'll be probably 5.
Yeah,
We're getting beaten by a girl.
The whole Discord it's hilarious.
Shocking.
Casuals, filthy casuals.
She's a
Apart from
public
that,
servant. Nothing else to do.
poor public servant. Apart from that, I watched Raw because I started to kind of casually watch WWE with my brother again, just out of sheer nostalgia. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty men. But no, I watched the Rumble last week. That was wrestling. But apart from that, no, I haven't done a whole lot else.
Kev likes big sweaty men now.
Kev loves big sweaty men. Oh yeah.
Kev wants to be Vince McMahon.
And then obviously I played some Destiny Season of the Chosen. Quite a bit of it actually. I was kind of like, yeah, I'll have a look at it. I'm not really too interested, and I played a lot more than I wanted to play because I was farming Nightfalls. I think it's like 25 Nightfalls on Tuesday and Wednesday. Trying to get a good shadow price. Got a good shadow price, and then thought it was absolute shit. So I think that's
Which will segue into our
Yeah,
what does everyone think of Season of the Chosen?
I think that's a good place to segue. So I've got a load of notes in front of me here. So basically, Season of the Chosen, I'm calling it Cabal Unknown's Battlegrounds. Because things called Battlegrounds. We don't have a fucking clue who the Cabal bitches were fighting. But basically, you log in, you get a cutscene. Mrs. Cabal, I'm gonna butcher her name. Keitel?
Title.
Keitel?
Yeah.
Keitel is her title.
These are shit butchers.
She
We all
wants
got it
us,
right.
basically she's saying, let's be buddies and do things, but really she just wants us to bow down and become her bitch. Osiris is like, no bitch! So we start killing her
His bitch.
yeah. We start killing what would be her war chief, so people are Cabal who want to rise up through her ranks. And really, you really have to wonder, it goes from, let's be friends, to killing them. Are we the baddies?
To be fair, before the "are we going to be friends" part, we were killing them, so it's par of the course for us.
Yeah,
And
There was this-
sorry,
there
the
was a
guy I overthrew my dad for tried to blow up your planet. Do you want to be friends now?
Yeah, but not
So
even
we
just
had
friends.
that already.
You be my bitch.
Yeah.
So, I have some thoughts on it, but I'll let you guys lead
No,
in.
do you know what I think? I think considering Dylan and I haven't played an awful lot, let's hear your thoughts and then we'll jump in because I'm sure what we have will lead
Alright.
in with what you're
Light a
saying.
fire, get the popcorn, roast some marshmallows, you're gonna be here a while, kids. Okay, so basically,
Less than an hour.
basically, Season of the Chosen revolves around what I'm calling Cabal Unknown's Battlegrounds. It is a mini strike. It's somewhere between Vex Offensive and the Wrathborn Hunt that everybody loved. But they're like mini strikes. There's 2 of them at the moment. One on Europa, one on Nessus. You spawn in, the Cabal are breaking shit as they like to do, and we have to kill Cabal. One thing I found hilarious was I love whenever there's like a new mechanic, and they're like, "Oh, how can we do the mechanic?" I was like, "Just make new Scions." When it's fallen, it's like make a new Vandal. Whereas now we have Keymaster Scions, I think they were called. So you have to kill a few of them, shut down some weapon, and then you go and you fight the boss. You track down the boss. I think it's something to do with. I'm kind of bashing my head against it and forget the actual meaning of it, but I think you're turning off weapons on a Cabal warship or something. But yeah, they're mini strikes, and then you get a bit of loot at the end. The loot, in fairness, is quite decent. Everyone's loving the new SMG. There's new rocket launcher perks. There's new bow. There's new guns, and as the season goes on, we'll likely unlock more guns. I don't know, is there gonna be more battlegrounds, or is it just the two?
No, I think there's another one coming.
One. So that might be where we go and fight Title. So yeah, that's basically it. Pros of it is we got a few cutscenes. There was 2 or 3 cutscenes, so that was nice to get some story development. The activity is fun. It's a bit more fleshed out than last season's content. Now, in fairness, last season's content was just kind of tying in with Beyond Light, so at least it's a bit more substantial. Basically, we get a hammer. It's just same as it is every season. We get a seasonal checkbox, and you get 3 rolls, and you unlock new perks, and over time you can do more with it. But at least this season, you can increase the number of charges the hammer holds. So if you have a charge in your hammer, if you have Cabal, you earn Cabal gold by doing strikes and Crucible and Gambit. Yay, do other activities to charge the thing. Seriously. Then once you have enough in it, you can smash open a chest, and you get loot from the chest. So, at least there's loot at the end of it. But in fairness, one thing I will say is at least it is generous enough. So like last season with the Ratborn hunts, when you were charging the whatever that thing was called,
the Cryptolith, I think it was.
The Cryptolith, whatever it's called. Like if you were supposed to play, and if you got bonus progressing from Gambit, it took you 2 or 3 strikes to charge it. Whereas now it's 1 strike equals 1 charge, so it's not too bad. But yeah, that's basically what it is, and
that's basically the season.
And that seems what the season's going to be. There is obviously going to be other stuff coming drip fed down the line, but that's basically the seasonal activity.
And it is the best of the seasonal activities, I think.
In fairness,
it's like
it's quite good.
They threw all the smaller ones into a blender and said, we're going to elongate this, because it feels like it goes on forever, because it's done in 3 parts, isn't it? You have your first part where you get the keys, and that kind of just feels like endless hordes of Cabal. And the heavy ammo boxes tossed around were actually a nice little addition as well. And then you go to the middle section, then you're doing platform defending or blowing up 3 platforms or something.
Blowing up the
and then you get the boss, which it's a cool way of how it runs, but it's just I don't feel like there's a lot of replayability there.
I think it's gonna get quite repetitive as season. Even like I've done maybe 12 of them or something. The biggest issue I probably have is it's whether you're on Nessus or you're on Europa. Basically, it's
all the same.
Exact same. The boss fight is the exact same. There's not like I'm trying to think of previous ones.
Was it the Vex one where there was different ones?
Where there was 2 or 3 different bosses with slightly different mechanics, and it made it feel kind of different each time.
A little bit different, yeah.
I imagine each week it will change. Like, there's no way we kill your man Draxus all the time, constantly. Like, I could imagine that each week we might get a different boss on Nessus and Europa.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
But
it's just a different name. It won't be even a different mechanic. It might just literally be a name change.
He just wears a different mask. But at the end of last season, I done a lot of the lures and the hunts at the start. But did we actually ever kill the war chief?
The High Celebrant.
Yeah. Did we address that?
Well, yes and no.
Well, I did.
I did because I didn't kill the war chief, the High Celebrant, because I cheesed the shit out of it to get the ship. So mine's technically not dead because I never actually finished the mission.
In one timeline, he's alive. No, but that's just my thing where I'd rather have a campaign based around Keitel and play 6 or 7 missions and have a fleshed out story. It doesn't even necessarily need to be in a new location. I don't care about rehashed content. Just if you throw in dialogue and good cutscenes and flesh it out a little bit, I'd be happy with like a 6-7 hour story. You know?
Now, in fairness, there are a couple of cutscenes, and there is a bit when you go to. Oh, we didn't even speak of the new social space.
The Helm.
The Helm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Before
That's
I
cool.
butchered the name of it, it's cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Kind of weird that it's not attached to the tower or anything like that, but maybe there's a reason for it. But
I
it's
think
cool.
that this is gonna be like our base away from base kind of thing. So this is where we're all going out on our missions. Like if we're going wherever the story leads us, if we're going into deep space to fight whoever, this is gonna be our uncharted territory hub. Like
That's where I go, so I can
that's a nice.
steer offline and not get caught out in the tower.
But yeah, it's nice having everyone in the kind of in one vicinity. You have your postmaster there, you have your vaults and stuff like that, which is nice because you're not loading in and then fast traveling to the other end because you need bounties off Drifter and all that shit.
It's nice that you can pull bounties from the app now because you can't pull bounties from in the Helm. So
yeah,
it is nice that you can actually do it from the app, which means you don't have to go to the tower. That is a possibility that I think someone actually mentioned that maybe we go to the Helm instead of having to spawn into a tower, which can take 20 minutes.
Yeah, but like the only thing I kind of have an issue with that, it was just dropped in front of us. Where it's like there's no build up.
There's no
Whereas
build up.
if we had like a mission or two before that, like going back to what I want as a campaign, if you do a mission or two, shit hits the fan, and then you have to relocate into the Helm because she's tracking or whatever, and then you go from there, and then you do your missions from there, whether it be 3 or 4 extra, and then you fight her or whatever. But telling a story over 3 months, once every 3 or 4 weeks, they'll drop like story content is a bit like shit. What was I doing 3 weeks ago? Yeah. Who's this person again? Do I have to go back and Google something? Like Bife is basically gonna have to tell me this in a 3-hour video.
Can't wait. One thing I will say though, and it was something you actually alluded to, Dill, when you logged in a few hours after us, and you were kind of like, it was just an overload of information.
Yes.
There was so much, and it was just kind of like, stop giving me screens of information and just let me go do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. It's like when they're introducing like the hammer thing, and then there's the new battlegrounds. They're all very convoluted ways and processes of how to charge it and how to insert. And then when you go into the war table on the Helm, you have the breakdown of each section that you can do unlockables for, and it's just very like, shit, how do I unlock this? Shit, how do I power this? Okay, I can't unlock this. Why can't I unlock this? And then it says requires something or other, and you're like, okay, I don't know what that is. How do I find out what that is so I can go get it? Mm-hmm. It's just convoluted to me.
So, as someone who plays a bit less Destiny than us, how did you find it, Stephen?
Yeah, I am logging in. Definitely, there was an awful lot going on. I really appreciate the cutscene. Anyway, I thought that was really well done. I like the atmosphere that they're developing. Like I said last week, they kind of sideswiped us a little bit with the Cabal storyline because we saw them beyond light, but nothing happened. So we didn't know if we were going to be friends or make an alliance. And now we're frenemies. So that was nice to get that story starting to get fleshed out. But yeah, then once you actually get into it, you're kind of like, you just dropped into a battleground with no explanation about what's going on. I dropped in with 2 other guys. I was like, what's going on?
I found that was the funniest actually, just to come in. Then we did a raid just after reset, so no one had touched the seasonal content, and everyone who came into the Discord chat was like, "Oh, I'm logging into Destiny now. Where am I going?" Sorry, Stephen, go on.
No, but that's exactly what it was, because I'm here watching a cutscene in 30 frames per second, thanks Bungie. And then you just drop in and you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then 2 lads just running off doing something like, okay, follow those two.
Wait
And
for
then
me.
you run out, and next thing, fucking Cabal Ball decides to
How many
kill me.
times
I
did
was
they
like,
kill you?
At least like 4 times every time.
Nowhere is safe.
No, please nerf it. But like, and then you're kind of going, what's going on? I could see something drop on the ground. I was like, I'll go collect it to see that the teammate actually collected it. I was like, well, did I need that? What's going on? And then it says move on to the next part. I was like, okay, I'll just run. And then I'm on Ness. It's like, oh, actually, I probably should drive there. So I drive over. Then pick up the ball. I'm like, what do I do with the ball? Like, oh, that's shiny over there. Throw it at it. The thing has such a small hitbox. If you don't hit it dead on,
you have to
it
hit
won't
it
go up.
on the long side of it.
On
not
the light of
end,
the lit up bit, yeah.
And the first time I just threw it at it while I was standing on it and I died. I was like, cool.
That's my new favorite
then-
game. Try to kill blueberries with the exploding ball.
Yeah. So yeah, so you can do all that and then you go to the helm and it's cool. And then you see Phantom of the Crow appear and then
I love you, Guardian.
so there's a lot going on. There's a lot to read, a lot to kind of go, well, what am I doing? But the one gripe that I have, and I think I've had this with the season model in general, is there's no recap or summary of what happened. So I kind of know that when you do the Ratborn missions, you somehow win Crow. You say to Spider,
Yeah.
I want him, and you get him.
Spoilers.
And now he's in the tower, but obviously he's hiding his face. So when I saw his gimp mask, I was like, why is he wearing a gimp mask?
Gimp of the Opera.
He was a nomad when he was with Spider. He's a street kid now. Next season he's gonna be a corporal.
He'll start saying words like indeed.
Tomb. Osiris, my tomb. The fuck did you say to me?
But so yeah, so like a little bit of that, I felt the FOMO kicking in, being like, okay, I missed that. What's going on?
Yeah.
But it's fine. You could move on with it. Having Saladin and Zavala come in with the Holocron system, that's cool.
I like that.
Yeah, that was a
like
nice new addition, actually. Yeah.
And I hope that that's how they introduce that we can grab bounties and stuff through that from different vendors. So say
that would be cool.
So say I've
cool,
done I've got a ton of Umberland grams from playing whatever, and I've a ton of hammer charges, and I just want to go turn in my Umberland grams and I go to the helm. But I've also been playing Crucible, so I've got all my Crucible rank ups to get. Why can't I lose that hologram to go talk to Mr. Shack so he can shout at me down the telephone?
Yeah.
And then grab my Crucible rank ups. He'd be like the
I have
typical
to say-
Irish mammy when they're on holidays. We're in spin! Can you hear me?
Shaq's tuning his horn. Can you hear me now?
This is a bad time,
that's how
Guardian.
he gets a better signal of his horn. Just take your goddamn helmet off, Shaq, so you able to hear me then.
Yeah. I have to say, I love Shaq though when you go up and he's like, come by next time, Titan. We'll trade punches. I'll let you go first. I just love him. But anyway, so I did the battleground, the story parts where you have to charge up the hammer, and yeah, I'm done. Like, I've done what I need to do. I have to do charges again. I have to play content I don't want to play. I have no interest in doing just to do the content that I want to do. That is part of what I paid for the season. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. Like, I'll do it as I need. I don't see why I need to do it to kill the same 2 guys over and over again this week.
Yeah.
So if something new happens next week, I'll do it, or whenever that happens. But for me now, I've done it. I've seen kind of the seasonal model. I'm not a big fan of this charging system. Paying other
me neither.
content to do the charge.
Me neither.
So I can't see myself playing it more, which is a shame because I still really like it. But I will actually point out one thing, which is I was really worried about the recoil changes, and I don't know why, but I haven't noticed. I've noticed nothing different.
I
I'm still
actually,
So now people can't give out when they get shit on by controller players.
having played, I play MNK, nice shiny mouse. Having played some Crucible, which I will get back to a bit later, I actually feel like, and Chaotic said this as well, they actually feel nicer in a way, because in a weird way, they shoot. They
feels
feel
real.
like they shoot like they should shoot.
Yeah.
Now, if they toned down aim assist, that not aim assist, but that kind of
Compensation.
tracking you get even when you're playing MK, if they took out that and it was literally point and click. But anyway,
Yeah.
So it basically feels more like you're using a hand cannon or a pulse rifle or an auto.
Only on sniper. The only way you really feel it is on sniping, and even then, it's a negligible difference. You can't feel a difference.
Yeah. So in summary, love the story content. Want more of that, like Dill's saying. Just give me a 6-hour campaign this season. Not too keen on replaying the same activities over and over again for a charge. But hey, this is where we are. I still love the game, but I'm probably out until something changes.
That's the most annoying part, isn't it? Because you're getting new content and you're playing it for 15 minutes, and then it's like, okay, do half an hour's to 45 minutes worth of Crucible, Gambit, or Strikes. I don't mind playing Crucible because I play it casually. I don't mind Gambit because I like Gambit. I'm one of those 4 people in Europe that likes playing it. Strikes, I just
Benji
can't.
counts
I
for the
don't
other
like
3
Strikes.
That damn.
But like that,
cunt.
I needed to charge to unlock the chests at the end of the battlegrounds. I picked up all my bounties off Zavala, Shax, and Drifter. I done my Gambit ones, I done my Crucible ones, and then I was like, I couldn't be arsed. I really couldn't be arsed. I don't feel the need to redo everything that I've been doing for the last few months, just to be able to do something that I should be able to do on login. Yeah.
And that's been an issue for as long as I can remember.
And like I was talking about it today with Etsky, and we kind of both had the same thing where it was, I feel, and I'm sure a lot of people feel, that a hard reset is what needs to happen, like a D3 or the next expansion to be a complete refresh.
You definitely.
No, but that's why people have that outlook now. It's because you get to play something cool for a couple of hours, and then the whole thing where if we're getting a new strike in 3-4 weeks time, if you log in on a Tuesday at reset to play that, you're not going to sit there for 3 or 4 hours doing the same strike over and over and over. Personally, I'm not going to do that. So it's kind of like that falls by the wayside rather than it be, holy shit, we got a new strike. Whereas if you have your old model and incorporate new strikes, new maps on Crucible, new maps on Gambit, new locations to visit, you're going to incorporate that all into one, and people will just replay the shit out of that for how long on end, you know?
So I'm assuming neither of you did any Nightfalls this week.
No.
Which is technically a new strike for Destiny 2, but it's Epic Prime.
I've done a few, yeah. But at the same time, I was like, sorry, go on.
No, far ahead.
It just it didn't give me the replayability because it's completely out of context for the season of the Chosen. It's just thrown in. It's like, here's something new. I don't care that it's rehashed or reintroduced from Destiny 1. It's just I want to sit down and play Season of the Chosen to get into that. We're fighting Catel, we're fighting the Cabal. We are in this period of time right now where this is what's happening. Okay, go to a Cosmodrome and fight fucking Sepix. Why?
And that's actually something that I did see going around social media, not in a complaining way, just in a to paraphrase Luke Smith. I think it was Edge magazine before season or Beyond Light came out. He basically said that the Cosmodrome's coming back for a reason, Sepixron's coming back for a reason. It's not like, oh, bump, look what's come out of the content vault. Go do it. There's no reason why you're doing it, but go do it. And he said that's not going to happen. There will be a reason that you're doing these things, and they're going to come back for a reason. But there is no reason that currently that we know of anyway. There's no reason why.
Siva.
It's not Siva though. It's not. Did
you not see
the original Sepix Prime version?
Yeah.
But did you not see the ornament for
Anarchy?
Yeah. Anarchy, which is a Siva inspired.
Yeah, but the Syntheseps ornament from year 2, I think, they're Siva.
Yeah, but that was like Activision back then. That was
Yeah,
just
but
fun,
no, but you're saying the ornament is Siva-fied, but so we've had Siva ornaments for other stuff in the past, and nothing that hasn't happened. So like, there's no explanation for why we're doing Sepix Prime. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing Sepix Prime because that was the first thing we ever did in Destiny. Really, that was the
Yeah.
like, oh my god, this game's amazing. And they also changed up the music. It is the Siva Sepix music for the end boss fight.
Oh, the
It's
rock
this,
version.
it's
Yeah.
the rock version. It's like fucking Yu-Gi-Oh on acid. Anime, yeah, it's great. That soundtrack's fantastic. And actually, speaking of soundtracks, they also use the Levy soundtracks for the battlegrounds stuff.
Yes,
So
I
it's
noticed
the
that a few
Cabal
times.
stuff. And actually, is it on the boss? It's the Cabal Mars music from D1.
Oh yeah,
Which is nice to hear it. But
yeah.
but yeah, just speaking of the Nightfalls, the way Nightfalls are working this week is Shadow Price D1 auto rifle is guaranteed to drop eventually from doing them. It's I don't think it's specifically a Sepix Prime reward. I just think it's
No,
the
just a
reward that's
weekly
in
rotation.
It's in circulation this week. So I like the way they've done that. They've given grindable things to do in activities. So way in Crucible, you've got the new
Sniper.
Sniper.
Yeah, Sniper, and I don't know
And
what the
then in
second thing
Gambit,
is.
it's a hand cannon
And Fusion.
and a fusion. Then in this, you've got your Shadow Prize Palindrome. Is probably next week, and Swarmageddon's the week after, I imagine. Yeah, I like they've done that, and also the Grandmasters this season will give adept versions of those guns. The adept,
Oh, cool.
And
the
that's
adept
a
Shadow
nice.
Price looks gorgeous.
Yeah, and like that's
Shit,
a nice
though.
addition, and it's a
Shit.
really good way to introduce more people to Grandmasters because it did feel like they were something to do for the hardcore players,
But no reason
but
to do it otherwise.
no rewards. You were getting the same for doing a whatever the level was that season, second highest difficulty for doing the exact same thing. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to doing that eventually. But this is the thing; it's eventually, and if a new thing comes out, I want to dive into it, be fully immersed, get the story, play everything associated with it, grind for how many weeks I can last. But when it's
10 seconds
given to you every second or third Tuesday, it's just like
now,
it'll fall by the wayside.
I don't like that seasonal drip feed of content either. But we kind of spoke about it last week in that we want a raid in the Comet expansion and then another one mid-year. Now this year we are getting that in that we got Deepstone Crypt Beyond Life, and then I assume in season 14 we're getting Vault of Glass, which that's gonna be great.
Yeah.
But I hope, and I was speaking about it yesterday, I hope there's a 3 or 4 hour campaign to go with the Vault of Glass.
Associated,
dropping.
yeah.
So that's not just Vault of Glass is out on Friday, seasonal content's out today. Go get leveled up, Guardians. So I hope that there is a 3 hour to 4 hour It doesn't have to be the most expansive, amazing campaign ever, but just a build up to doing it. Yeah. And I think that's something else that I'm missing this season. I know power level is it's an artificial content. People think, level boost, I gotta get leveled up this season, we gotta get to 1310 or whatever it is. But there's no reason to at the moment. Apart from if you're going to play trials and you don't want to be at a level disadvantage. But without having that raid or that activity to aim towards playing, it feels like everything we're doing is pointless and it's really just a triumph checklist, which is what it feels like to me. Please stop it.
Which is why I think campaigns hit more harder, because you're playing for the story 100%. You don't care what drops you get from that story because you are playing story content, and then afterwards you have the choice to replay missions at harder difficulties for whatever drops and stuff like that. But that makes, because we're getting Vault of Glass in hopefully the next expansion.
It has to be. There's no way we get. So the Witch Queen is season 16, yes. So the next season, season 14, there's no way they drop Vault of Glass season 15 and then Witch Queen gets a raid in season 16.
But
It's too
this
close.
is the thing that I was kind of like, if we got our Deepstone Crypt in Beyond Light, we probably won't get a new raid in this year of Beyond Light. If we get Vault of Glass in the summer, I don't think they're going to drop a big raid in August, September,
they
and then
won't.
drop their
100%.
big DLC
No,
in
100%
November,
they won't.
December.
100%.
So, like, I completely agree with what you said. There needs to be something
Just something.
of a build-up tagged onto that just to give it that bit more of immersion. Because if that's the raid that we're getting this year, and to me, I'm the same. I'll log in every day to do my grind for the raid because it's something that you can work towards and build up to, and you have an end goal in mind. But if it's just going to be for Vault of Glass, it's like, I can do this for the next 6 months. Like, there's no need.
It's get your fix and go play something else and wait for the seasonal exotic quest to come out and then do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how people are playing this full time. Fuck me.
They're not.
Well,
So hard.
Skill Up made a joke about it in his Season of the Hunt review. I'm the only content creator who kept playing Destiny this season.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't mind coming on and playing it for a week or two and then putting it to the side and jumping back in the next season or whatever. Or if we got, I keep saying the same thing, but if we got the older model with the campaign and then the last month of the 3 months was like a drip fed every Tuesday to build up to the next season.
I used to enjoy that. I used to enjoy that.
Because it was kind of laying the foundations for what's coming to build up the hype, and then here it is. And like, that 3 months will go so quickly. But when you're literally hanging on the end, waiting every other Tuesday, did something drop, and you're waiting for reset for someone to log in to see, is there a new mission or is there a new exotic quest or something?
So I have a question for both of you then. It's kind of what you said there, Dill. Say Season of Chosen's out now.
Yeah.
And we use that as an example. You know we're going to be getting so much content over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Would you rather the same content we're going to get be spread out the way it is? Or would you rather just get it all on one day, and if you finish it and you're done after a week, then you're done after a week? But you got all of the content for the season in one drop, and it's just all there to play at your own pace. Which way would you rather it?
The latter. Because then you can do that at your own pace. You are not fitting into the live service and the fear of missing out. And for example, Stephen, I'm not saying in a bad way, but as a casual player, I think that would suit a lot more people on the casual front, because you can make your own checklist. You can say, this is what I want to get done in this session. This is what I want to get done in this week. You have nothing live in terms of raids or dungeons to build up towards. So you can take it at whatever pace you want to do. You can check off the content as you go along and enjoy it. Whether that takes you a week or it takes you 3 weeks to a month and a half.
Yeah,
I'd much rather get that. Yeah.
I rather the idea that when you get your content, that it's just there waiting for you to get through it, and that it's not like, so let's just say this week I decided I'm not going to play it at all, and then next week there's new content. So not only do I need to catch up on week 1, I also have to do week 1 to get to week 2. Or if I'm really unfortunate, week 1 is gone and it's just week 2 is where you start. And it's that idea of like, the content shouldn't be going away because I'm not around. It should be there for me to just get through as I can. And yeah, I would much rather the idea that, you know, if they came out to us and said, you are getting 3 seasons worth of content in October, and that's going to last you until the following September. But we're going to show you a roadmap where, you know, your battlegrounds will be around for 12 weeks. And then the next thing will drop in whatever for the next couple of weeks. At least you can go, well, okay, we're getting something is changing over that time.
Yeah.
But it's not story content. Like, if there's something associated with story, I want it there and then. And sure, you can kind of put things in if you want, but I would rather have it up front and just go from there. And if you get through it in a week, go play something else.
Exactly, and I think that would please a lot more people because playing at your own pace, if you've got personal stuff going on in the background, you won't be able to get on for a week or two. You won't feel like you've missed out. Like Fell Winters, for example, if you missed out on that season for whatever reason, you like if you're a PvP player and you missed out on that, you're just getting shat on by it constantly, and you're like, why can't I get this now? Why am I at a disadvantage just because I had X, Y, and Z going on in my personal life? And yeah, it's
So
I'm gonna sorry.
I don't want to keep complaining because I love the game for what it is, and it's because I want it to be so much not better. I want to be immersed in story. I want to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing and why we're going to this place to do what we're doing.
And can I just point out one like little tidbit there in that all these content creators who have made a living from Destiny, when you think about how they got big, the majority of them got big in D1 when we had content droughts. When all of our content came in one go, they would have blasted through most of it in a week, maybe more or less. But they're like all the big names that you can think of. I won't name them, but like they all got big in D1.
Yeah.
And there's very few people who in D2 have actually established huge careers from just playing Destiny 2. There are a few. I can think of one in particular, but the majority of the big ones.
Person.
But the majority of them came from D1, and I think the content cycle was probably a bit more forgiving then and allowed those people to do the things that made them successful for who they are and what they did. Yeah. Whereas in D2 now, it's very much a FOMO thing. It's them to get out, show the content because maybe someone like me can't play it or whatever. So I wonder, like,
a couple of differences between D1 and D2. There's a big difference. D1, our two big content drops in Destiny 1 were Taken King and Rise of Iron. Between Taken King and Rise of Iron, and then between Rise of Iron and Destiny 2, there was fuck all content between the two.
Yeah.
But there was something called Trials of Osiris that was gangbusters.
Bridge the gap.
People didn't mind the content drops. It was like, I've done the raid, I've done the new story stuff, I've got everything. I'm gonna play Trials for the next 6 months. And unfortunately, the desire to play Trials is kind of lost for 90% of the player base now. But just to go back, the way that the content is dropping, so we got two new battlegrounds this week and our stasis aspect quest, which I'll actually want to talk about for a couple of minutes. So next week we get another battlegrounds, and the following week we get a fourth one. There's 4 battlegrounds, okay. So not 3, not 2. Yeah, not 3. There's actually 4. After that we get a strike. On the 23rd of March, we get a new strike. Like, that is ages away. Like, that's 6 weeks into the season, we get a new strike. And then the following
Which is supposed to tie in to the story of the season as well.
Yeah. And then that's called the Proving Ground Strike, and that enters the strike playlist. And the Nightfall on the 30th of March. This is a bit weird that they're dropping it that way. And then the rest of the season is Iron Banner being advertised. Don't give a shit. And then we got the Guardian games, which takes up the last 3 weeks of the season. So there's not actually a hell of a lot this season anyway. Yeah.
Plus we lost the strike today.
We lost a new strike
you could say
today.
That strike has fallen.
That was very blunt, Kev, like a saber.
Yeah, like a saber. Sabers are sharp. But anyway, just to touch back on other stuff that we didn't actually touch on. New season passes come out. The gear's lovely and all that. But the exotic bow you get from your box at the very beginning, you don't have to touch it. I must say they actually knocked it. Like, I didn't use it in Crucible, but in PvE, they hit it out of the park with that bow. It's fantastic.
That's the tracking bow, isn't it?
So I can't think of the name of it because I'm awful.
It's a very long name.
It's a weird name. I think it's
like
chick
begins with a T.
Oku's something.
Whatever. We won't butcher it. Stephen
The
might
fiery
look it up
bow.
for me. The fiery bow. Basically, it
Fiery
works in
boy.
two different ways. When you fire from the hip, it tracks targets, but does not a lot of damage. But it's a primer, so that's like it's an explosive, but it doesn't detonate. The way you detonate it is from aiming down sights and shooting the same target that you've shot with the priming shot, and that does massive AoE damage. And it's fucking great.
And it sets off the damage on the other ones.
Yes.
So it's not just on that one. It will, if
Yeah.
they're all nearby.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
That's good.
It's fun to
Yeah.
use, but it's something that will end up in your vault in a few weeks. But it is
Yeah.
fantastic. I play Titan main, and the new Titan aspect is great. Spelled GR8, like a 12-year-old, because it is fantastic. So basically, the new Titan aspect ability for stasis is you slide and melee, and it sends a wall of ice forward and freezes anything it touches. It is really fun to use in PvE against ads and champions, and is hilarious to use in PvP. So, for instance, a guardian runs around the corner, aping you with a shotgun. You slide and melee, and they get frozen looking at you.
No.
But apparently, it one-shots supers, which is not cool.
Shadow dive on smack.
It's great. It's pretty good. I don't know what the Hunter and Warlock one does.
The Hunter, I only briefly read it. It basically gives you an extra smoke bomb. It makes your enemies, it makes you and your allies take no damage when you're invis. And yeah, apart from that, I hadn't really no interest in it, so I stopped reading because it was a paragraph, and I says, not gonna get used. It's gonna just get earned for the collection and go straight into the vault.
And also there
And
is
it's the
new
Warlock one.
fragments. There's new fragment quest as well from Elsie from the Stranger. So you can get 2 this week, 2 next week. There's 4 new fragments altogether. And the Titan one gives me extra. The one I took gives me extra recovery, so I'm happy with that.
Can I actually give out about the fragments for a second?
Which fragment?
All of them. The fragment system.
Just stasis.
Why?
Because, so normally you can only collect 2 quests a week.
You mean the aspects, not the fragments. Other way around.
Aspects, okay.
Other way around. Never mind. No, you're right. I'm wrong. Fragments.
okay.
Fragments. Yeah.
Fragments. So you can only pick 2 quests a week, and then you can do them to get whatever. So I picked 2 strikes by accident.
Yeah.
And by accident, I mean I purposely avoided Crucible and Gambit. Then when I got my 2 strike ones, I went, fuck the both of these. They're awful.
Yeah, no, they take a while.
I was like, I'll go get a Crucible one because Mayhem is up, and I'll have a little bit of crack with that. When you delete one, you can't get a third one. You literally only get 2 a week.
So there's no way of re-requiring or re-rolling for a different activity?
No, and it does, to be fair, it says 2 per week maximum. But I would have thought that was a completion.
2 hold and, yeah.
Yeah, so you could literally just get 2 per week. So if you get 2 awful rolls of quests, there's no point deleting one.
I think the quests are fairly static in what you roll, though. I think,
possibly.
they're fairly... I can't, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's the same for each class. If we're both Titans, we both have to do the same thing. Now, they are fairly long tailed to get done. It took me several strikes to do them, and some of the stuff is ridiculous. Like, you kill frozen enemies. It's like, what your team
kill slowed enemies.
Yeah, so some of them are quite annoying.
Yeah.
Something I forgot to actually mention as well is seasonal challenges. So like the way you have in Apex or in Call of Duty, I think. But you have...
Stop yawning.
I'm so tired.
Sorry. we're keeping him awake. But it's all his talk about Destiny. He wants to go play Apex. But so each week you're gonna unlock a new block of 10 challenges you have to do. You've got 2 kind of longer ones, and then the rest are kind of, you can do them in a couple of games, like Crucible or One Strike or Kill 75 Fallen. They're all basic enough. I personally don't like it because every single fucking multiplayer game has them now. But it's a different way of earning Bright Dust and seasonal XP and leveling up your hammer.
See, that's what I like. I like that because it doesn't go anywhere for the season. If you don't get it all done in week 1, you can still do week 1 and
I
week
like
3
the
or
way they
week
did
4.
that. Yeah, I like that.
That's good.
So you can actually do them later on then.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you can do them all on the final day if you have enough time.
Okay.
But I think the rewards are actually sufficient and
Yeah.
not just XP. Like, the amount of times I've logged in and something is available in the Eververse and I've only got 500 Bright Dust and this is 1,000. How can I get Bright Dust quickly? Instead of doing 8 bounties, it's like, alright, I can load into Patrol Space, kill 75 Fallen and get the same amount, you know?
Now that they're doing it this way. So in previous seasons, it was you had your weekly Vanguard bounties, your weekly Gunsmith bounties, your weekly Gambit,
Yeah.
your weekly Crucible, and they dropped you a certain amount of Bright Dust. But this is their way of giving you that Bright Dust, so you can clearly see what I have to do this week to get Bright Dust. And they're giving you more Bright Dust than they previously gave. So we are getting a nice amount. And if you clear every single one of them throughout the season, you get a large amount of Bright Dust as well. So that's kind of cool.
Good.
So it doesn't mean that
Eververse exists. But we don't need to speak about that.
Well, like that, it's the amount of times I've logged in, and I have a thing with the Eververse where I always want what's for sale on Bright Dust,
Yeah.
and I'm looking to when something I want is coming on rotation. Whereas with this introduction of the weeklies, I won't feel obliged to hold on to what I have until I'm really 100% sure I want something, or am I going to use that? Whereas now I'm going to be like, I want that, I want to use it for now, and then I'll have enough to get the next thing by the time that comes around. You know?
Yeah. Did we ask Phil what his impressions were of the season?
I think he's just kind of moaned about it anyway. No, I don't think what he's done is complain at all. You clearly
Constructive criticism.
You clearly just want more.
I want to play
You
this
want
game
more,
so
yeah.
bad, but I'm just not a fan of logging in and doing the same things. And I know we get a new seasonal activity every season. I just don't think it's enough to warrant me sitting there for 3 hours doing that. And I want to get up early and play it for the day. Yeah.
I'm just fed up getting seasonal activities that they're just this one that we have this season. It's probably the best one we've had, but it's really just taken a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that, put it in the blender, held the button for a few seconds, and there you go. It's the same thing with a different coat of paint on it.
And it feels like it's forced. Like it's not necessarily something that needs to be done. It's just like, oh shit, we have to keep rolling this seasonal activity model over because we've done it for the last 4 or 5 seasons and there's an expectance there.
And I really hope when Witch Queen, because we have seasons for the rest of this year anyway. I really hope with Witch Queen we see a change in direction with the seasonal stuff.
Like I know every season they're learning and implementing the changes from feedback, and it's great seeing those. But I just feel that by the time it gets to the perfect place, it'll be too late for some people.
100%.
You know.
But people do come back. That's the thing. Like Destiny's one of those games where people will come back in the droves.
Yeah. But at the same time, you'll be less inclined to give it a chance because it's not the first time they've made a mistake, you know. And I don't want to call it mistakes because they're learning as well what we want and who they want to please. But I just feel like,
unfortunately, I think who they're trying to please. Unfortunately, I think that changes every 6 months.
Yeah. And that's the upsetting part.
And I actually don't even think they're aiming for a different subsection of the community. I think the community thinks, and this isn't to shit on or take a pop shot at anybody putting that out there. The community says, we want this. And then 6 months later, they'll go, actually, no, this is what we want. So, and it's mixed messages from Bungie to community and from community back to Bungie.
Yeah.
And
obviously they're working like a season or 2 in advance anyway.
100%, yeah.
So anything that gets suggested over the next 6 months mightn't see the light of day for another 6 months after that, you know? So I just feel like there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions to what people want, and then by the time the dust settles on that, and they're like, "Oh yeah, maybe I don't think I'd enjoy that as much," it gets dropped, and then they're stuck with that, and they're kind of like, "I don't want this anymore.
And then fusion rifles get nerfed.
Again.
Leave my glacioclasm alone."
So really, my overall impressions of it is that it is a decent content drop as seasonal content goes. I'm not a fan of that, but with VOG coming back in next season, hopefully that comes with changes, and it's not just have it, and we get some story build up to it and some other end game activities to do that aren't just grindy stuff, the checklist, the triumphs. I'll give them a pass until then.
And like, I remember when Shadowkeep came out, that was a massive story drop, and
people hated it.
That's what I can't understand. I loved that. I literally played.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Hours a day, and it made me want to do those stupid triumph checklists because I was immersed in the moon. I was fully into the story. I was replaying strikes, nightfalls to do with the moon. I was doing the checklists for every seal that accommodated that season. I done previous seals because I was fully into Destiny at that time, and I haven't felt like that since. Beyond Light was great because the raid and stuff, but once that's done, it didn't kind of grip me enough to. It didn't give me anything else to do apart from the raid.
The story in Beyond Light was great as well. Like, I think
fantastic.
Shadowkeep had, for me, a really good story until the end, and then just dropped it, and I was like, cool. Sure. But Bungie are really good at doing great stories, and I just wish they would just keep that going. And even narratively, they do these really cool. Like, I don't know if you, I think the both of you are on Reddit, you've probably seen it, but this happened to me just playing it. Did you notice what Crow does?
No.
Listen to Crow when he whistles.
Don't tell us.
I'm just saying.
We'll come back to that.
Go to Crow and listen to him. He will eventually do it.
Okay.
But even really cool things like what you were saying with the music, like in Helm, when I went into the Helm the first time, the first song I heard was Deep Stone Lullaby. I was like,
it was nice to hear it on the Helm.
Like little things like they're really great at the subtle storytelling. Like that, we're not telling you what's going on, but if you are aware of things, you'll caught this and you're like, ooh. So it's cool.
The thing with Destiny, and this is Stephen kind of said that people will come back anyway. I think it was Stephen said it. The reason they come back is even when the content isn't fantastic, or there's not a lot to do, or there's a drought, or Crucible isn't fun for that part of the community, the game to play is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
The core of the game, and it's why it has survived. Like, you've got Anthem, had it failed. You had
The Division.
You had other games that came out and tried to come into that kind of same genre of games. But the reason Destiny survived through all the bullshit it's gone through is that the core of the game is it's as good as anything out there to play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's the more frustrating part then as well, because everyone wants to play it. Like, I want a reason to keep playing it for hours on end. And like that, I know all these seasons are gonna culminate and come together story-wise, and we're gonna take. Well, that's what they said in the summer, that it's all building towards something. But when
the end,
they're so far apart in story from each other, it's hard to piece that together. Whereas if you had a long-standing campaign that just came across, filled in the gaps, I think it would be a little bit more easier to not easier to understand. It would be more straightforward. And holy shit, we're actually building to something. I can't wait for the next season because they've laid the foundations for X, Y, and Z. And there you go. On to the next one.
And I think the drip feed of content does kind of make it feel less like. I don't know. It's kind of hard to explain it. So when you get that big bulk of story at the end, like, oh my god, this is a great story. This is where it's going. Oh, Shadowkeep. We're like, oh, big drop of story. We're moving forward. But when they drip feed stuff to us, it feels like they're dragging the fucking ass out of it. And
I
get
want to
that.
see Eris the Drifter and Stranger.
That's why we
going
haven't got a
ham
new
on
Splinter
some.
Cell game in so many years. Eris is really Tom Clancy. She's got the eyes. Tom Clancy, not Tom Clancy, Sam Fisher. My bad.
Sam
Fisher,
Splinter.
yeah.
Sam
I haven't
Splinter.
had dinner, okay? I'm getting a curry after the podcast show thing. Sorry, Stephen, go
No,
on.
I was just going to say I know we're going time, but you wanted to talk about Crucible because
Yes.
you were even asked this as a question. So
Yeah, so
Take it
I
away.
think with Destiny, even though we spend half the time memeing about it and joking about it, and it'd be remiss to not discuss Crucible because Destiny has PvE. It's also got Crucible. It's got PvE, PP, and Gambit. Haven't touched Gambit yet. Deals the resident dredge in here.
Gambitier.
But I
Reckoner, actually.
played some Crucible over the last 2 days. I played some quick play and I played some comp. And without getting salty or toxic or whingy, I'll just give my first impressions of it. So I used to play a hell of a lot of Crucible in Destiny 1.
Can confirm.
A hell of a lot of Crucible in the first few years of Destiny 2. And
Can also confirm.
when Trials came back last year, I was super excited for it. The first night, I literally walked out of this room, went to Louise, and went, I'm so happy Trials is back! And now fast forward 6 months after that, and I didn't care for the game mode. I didn't want to touch the game mode. I'll go back to that in a second. But speaking of Crucible, quick play. It took me literally 5 to 10 minutes to find the game, which it's quick play. Quick play! It's in the title. So it took me 5 to 10 minutes. I was sitting in matchmaking to meme on the new sniper. I was frozen orbit. And then when I eventually did get a game, every game bar one, I joined in progress.
Oh.
And so the games in Europe, I got into one game, hit a triple down with a sniper, and we mercied them. It was over. That was literally the first thing I did. Slide around the corner, snipe, 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 mercy. Back
The
to
power of the Kev.
back to orbit I go. That was shit. So I didn't really get too much. Stasis ruins Crucible. Like,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not even a complaint anymore. It's just a straight up fact. If you're not running Stasis in Crucible,
You're at a disadvantage.
just don't. It's not worth it. Like, I think, and with the sniper flinch changes with MNK as well, it makes it a bit better this season. They need to do something about aim assist on controllers with snipers. That's just the truth. But weapons, you might as well not use a weapon because it's ability spam, and that's all it's become. And it's not even, if you look back at Destiny, the end of Destiny 1 and Rise of Iron, sticky grenades became all people were using because it was an insta kill. It was you stick someone with a grenade, they're dead. And that's what it has become again now. It's just, use Stasis, toss down a grenade, you're frozen, or you're a warlock, you're melee, get frozen, bitch, and they're dead. And there's no way to fight against it. Now, I could sit here and speak for the next hour about how I think they can fix that. The quickest fix I think they can do is Guardians can't be frozen by non-super abilities. So if you get a stasis, if you get hit with a stasis grenade, it does the slow effect, but it doesn't freeze you completely. Which means that, yeah, they've hit you with a grenade, it does damage, but you can still fight back. When you're frozen, you're fucked. You can't do anything.
You're literally just a sitting duck. Yeah.
And speaking of stasis leads into my next point, which is about comp. So I played some comp as well because there's a triumph for winning. To gild your unbroken seal, one of the triumphs is win 4 games of comp on the trot. We did it, so we left comp and don't have to touch the rest of the season, which is great. But comp is, it's like everyone's playing MLG last circle finals in Apex. It's like people are hunkered in a corner at the back of the map and they're afraid to peek out because of how strong Stasis abilities are. And then you try to push them and they just throw down a grenade, or you get Warlock melee around the corner, or Hunter throwing sick whatever it is, the Arc Star around the corner. And I saw an argument on Twitter today about how boring Destiny 2 Year 1 was, and yeah, it was boring and slow. And the argument was, oh, but now we've got these abilities, so it's more fun. It is just as slow, but for the opposite reason. People are
Yeah.
afraid to engage in gunfights because they're gonna get frozen and killed by stasis. So what they do is they sit as far back in the map as they can with a pulse rifle, and that's what the meta is, and it's boring. It's straight up boring. And I am dreading playing Trials. I had no interest in playing Trials, but then I saw the Messenger is coming back, and I want to get a Messenger. And I saw the other hand cannon that's there, and I want to get that. So, yeah.
At least the
dreading
thing with
playing.
Trials, like, they have that quest system now where you can do the quest once a reset and get whatever. I think it's on first 3 wins. So if you can kind of put up with playing it to get that 1 drop per week without burning out, but at the same time, that's probably not an enjoyable experience for someone who wants to win. And
like, we were
go
playing
for
it
it.
yesterday, and we won. We lost the first game, and because we were all a bit rusty, and then we won 4 games in a row. And as soon as we got that triumph done, we kind of went, "Do you want to leave? Do you want to just go do Nightfalls and farm that instead?" Yeah, let's get out of here. Because it's, even when you're winning, it's not a fun experience, because the way you win is by out bullshitting the other team.
Yeah.
There's,
Instead of your abilities complementing your weapons and your movement, it's literally just all out abilities. It's the same when people are running around constantly with a secondary, and it's kind of like, fight me with a primary, because they're just using it as a clutch. They're just aping you with a shotgun, a fusion rifling you from No Land Beyond.
Just give me gun game. That's all I want. Just let me
gun
play
game. Yeah.
Guns.
See, I think Destiny is a hybrid of the ability and the gun game. But
I'm finding that balance is so hard.
It's finding that balance. Like, the actual gun game is fantastic. But I think a return to D2 Year 1 isn't the answer, because it's too far in the other direction. But by toning stasis back in, you could have a really fun Crucible.
But you know what, you could tie it into a narrative where, because we became lightless guardians, you can say, if this ever happens again, we need to learn to fight without our light. And you could like, I get it would
incorporate that.
It'd be a completely different game, and it might not work. But give us the option. Let us try it. Even put in private matches. Let us turn off abilities and supers and see how we get on. Because you could, like, if you had, like, the way we had Season of the Drifter, bring in, like, Season of Shacks. I want Season of the Shacks. And let that be a thing where he says, no, Daddy Shack says, you fight without the light.
You just want to stand beside him for 3 hours and listen to his dialogue.
I want to punch him first to see what happens.
Oh, but that I was going to come in with the point of, would it be a possibility of just simply disabling stasis darkness subclasses in the Crucible? They won't make that jump. No.
But you know what would be it? You were sorry, Dale, I couldn't over you, but what Kevin was saying about the stasis. Kev, sorry, I said Kevin. What you were saying about the stasis only slowing you, not freezing you. Like, one option, I don't know how practical it could be, is if you have a stasis subclass, you can't get frozen. You can't get affected by stasis. The darkness does not affect a stasis subclass. But that means then you're still at a disadvantage if you go in with a light subclass, because if you go in with Nova Bomb and everyone else is rocking stasis, you're getting
it's
frozen.
Forcing you to play something that you don't want to play.
I agree to an extent, but supers are fine either way. Supers kill supers, that's fine. The problem is that, and people say, oh, bring Golden, bring Solar Arc and Void up to meet stasis. And yeah, I get that logic, but then guns are still underperforming against abilities. And it's about fun. Now, and another issue then that creates is, if you bring guns up to meet stasis, you have a twitch shooter. You might as well play. It's one tap hand cannons, and it's So their stasis abilities against guardians are they're too powerful, and it's a dead horse. Unfortunately, it's a dead horse.
Yeah.
However, I did see a funny joke on Twitter, it was someone asked what does meta mean. I think it was Intel asked it, and I won't give the name of the person, but the answer was minimum effort, total annihilation. I thought it was fantastic.
That's a good one.
That's great.
But yeah, Straighted Viper asked about the state of Crucible, just to throw in there. I was gonna bring it up anyway, but he did ask us to discuss it. I don't think the new aspects break Crucible and Stasis any more than it already was, but Stasis is still an issue, and it's gonna continue to be an issue, and it's not gonna change. So give up.
Like, as someone who jumps in,
Apex.
like me personally, I'll jump in every now and again and play it from a casual standpoint to do my 3 games or bounties or jump into comp just to do the 7-round wins. It's fine when you're playing it from a casual standpoint, but if I was taking that anyway seriously, I would be so pissed off with the amount of bullshit that goes on. And it's exactly like you said. If you push into a room, you get frozen straight away.
Yeah.
There's no way of counteracting that. It's just simply my ability is better than your ability.
Yeah.
Irregardless of
as a Titan,
race,
Titan abilities, Titan stasis abilities in 3v3 playlists. Like I don't want to sound like I'm Titan favoritism, which I definitely am, but
no way.
No, but the Warlock stasis abilities completely shit on anything a Titan can do. And the Hunter stasis abilities shit on what a Titan can do. So when I'm going to be playing Trials, I'm not going to run stasis. I know that's going to put me at a disadvantage, but if I use my super, I get shut down by a Warlock melee.
Yeah.
Like, so, anyway, yeah.
How are we time-wise?
We're okay at the moment. We need to wrap up the Crucible chat because I get tired talking about.
My phone is ringing. Be right back.
I get tired talking about Crucible. It's Etsky asking to play Apex, but
Domino's asking can
see,
I come in?
I loved Destiny Crucible in D1. Even in the dark ages of D2 Year 1. I still love Destiny Crucible, so it makes me sad that it isn't fun anymore. But I'm not gonna sit here and tweet about it 20 times a day and moan about it 24/7 because that's not good for my health. And really, no one cares about that. So I'm gonna play what I can to get the rewards and then piss off to another game. And that's me done on Destiny Crucible.
I didn't just disappear there at all. I was here the whole
nice
time.
one.
I heard everything you said.
Nice ass. So we're at an hour 10, so we're okay for time. So we can touch quickly on game of disappointments and then see where we're at on that. And if we've time to get through a bit of news afterwards, then I'll do quick fire news for the week. So biggest gaming disappointment. Seeing as me and Dill are more hardcore into Destiny and clearly had more to say than you would, Stephen, despite you probably being the most hardcore gamer out of the three of us in terms of the variety of stuff you play. You play less Destiny than us, so you had less to say.
I do.
So because you had less to say on Destiny, you get to go first with your gaming disappointment.
Okay,
or plural if you want.
So I have plural, but I won't go into why. A few of them are quite obvious. So I think one of my biggest recent ones is the cancellation of Silent Hills. So even though I probably will never play it because I don't have the balls to do it, I still am a Silent Hill fan, and that really bummed me out when that got cancelled. Another recent one was Metal Gear Solid 5. Really just cannot get into it. I love all the Metal Gear Solids up until then, and 5 just, for whatever reason, can't get into it. Maybe Ground Zeroes was the start of it. I should have known, but yeah, I just can't get into 5.
I enjoyed Ground. Sorry to cut in. I enjoyed Ground Zeroes. Like I really enjoyed Ground Zeroes, but I agree with the rest you said.
Yeah.
Continue.
Then going back to my younger years, games specifically that disappointed me were Final Fantasy VIII. After coming off Final Fantasy VII and being enthralled by it, I got 8 and went, what the fuck is this? And for whatever reason, like I keep trying to go back. I bought the remastered, so I have to go back and play it. It's also on my backlog. So I need to, as well as Final Fantasy 12, coming off Final Fantasy 10, and then 11 being online. I was like, oh, these are amazing. Can't wait to get it. Went out as a kid, 12, 13 years old, paid full price for it, and then it's this weird, like, real-time strategy hybrid.
It's really a minor miracle that the 7 remake ended up as amazing as it did. When you look at the recent history of Final Fantasy, bar where 14 ended up, like, it's a miracle.
Yeah. And then finally, so this one I probably will put as my biggest gaming disappointment, was the original Nintendo DS.
Really?
Not because it was, bad or anything like that. After 2 weeks of mine, I got the hinge problem. The hinge broke. And that just put me in such foul mood after that. It destroyed the thing for me. Because
one of these bad boys.
No, the original.
Oh.
That's the one before that, the original Nintendo
How small
DS.
that screen is.
Yeah. No, that one was great, but the original one was a piece of shit.
I didn't have an original.
The top screen was so heavy that as you moved the left hinge,
couldn't support it.
So
I do remember
thankfully I got a job in game afterwards, and what I did was I just traded it in without them knowing. Like, oh, that's fine, I'll trade it in, and gave myself a new one.
Which game did you work
Some
in?
spa dropped this in the other day. I don't know who it was. He left no name, no number. Here, take it back.
Which game did you work in, out of curiosity?
Northside Shopping Centre.
So I wouldn't.
So, to the manager of Northside Shopping Centre in that time period, it was Stephen.
Oh, Nick knows. Nick knows.
Nick got named.
Nick knows.
Stephen's like, hey, I'm going down. If my ship's going down, you're coming with me, Nick.
Nick knows. Higher management knows. Game.co.uk know.
Oh, no, I won't go into the shit that happened on screen here. But
oh, I know. I know. I've heard stories.
We were one of before they went into receivership, we were one of the stores that got told we were being shut down. So we're like, oh, you're all getting redundancy. We're like, and
class.
2 weeks later, everyone else gets shut down. It's like, grand. So that's.
So you got the regular retail price redundancy. The rest of them got the trade-in price.
Yeah.
GameStop trade-in value.
60 brand new games? Yeah, that'd be $24.99. That's all we can give you.
Right. So Dill, has your pizza arrived?
Smells so good.
Do you want to go through your disappointments and then go get your pizza before it goes cold?
Yeah. My disappointments are every AAA game that gets ported over to Nintendo Switch. And it's just because I want to play it on a portable console at a decent frame rate. For example, Outer Worlds, I really wanted to play that. I started playing it on PC. It was on Game Pass, I think, at one stage. Started playing it. I went past a point where I basically had to sell something for a ridiculous amount of credits, and I was like, yeah, cool. And then that's something that I needed for a mission or a quest. And I hadn't got that something anymore, so I would have had to play for another 10 to 15 hours just to build back up the same amount to be able to continue my main story. So I says, nah, fuck this. And I was kind of past the point where it was starting a new game was a bit too far back. So I said, it's coming out on Switch soon, I'll wait. And the comparison videos are just Fallout 3. Like, Fallout 3 looks better.
It's base PS4 to RTX 3080 Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it's horrible. And same with The Witcher. I wanted to play that on Switch. I was going to give Skyrim a go. But I just feel like I'd get more into those games just as a handheld. So hearing all these big AAA titles come on the Switch was so exciting. But unfortunately didn't
Another disappointment actually about, before you move on from the Switch, is the lack of AAA titles that get to the Switch.
Yeah.
And not even AAA titles, just a lot of titles that are like, coming soon to PlayStation 4 and 5, Xbox Series X, PC, Steam, and Epic Game Store. Bye.
.com done.
No Nintendo Switch port. Yeah.
Like when you go onto the Nintendo eShop or whatever it's called, it looks like a mobile app store the majority of the time, in comparison to a Steam or a GOG or an Epic store. It's just, it doesn't have that kind of wow factor of the titles to be like, shit, I can play this, I can play this, I can add this to my list. And even when they do, they're so expensive. It's constant, like, full price. I have 10 things on my wish list, and I get an email every now and again saying one of your items is on sale. It's €3 off. Like, they brought out the Witcher recently. What did they do? They took away all the DLCs to sell them separately, so you could only buy the complete collection. And that's been on sale for €40 for so long, and I refuse to buy it.
That's the most Nintendo thing I've ever heard.
But it's just like, we're taking away all this content and giving you the base game, but it's still the same price. So that's just Nintendo. Fuck you. Anthem was my biggest of the last while. Ooh. See, I don't get disappointed a lot by games because if I don't like something, I just won't play it. And I'm one of those people where it's like, I'll see something, I'll want it. I'm so impressionable, and then the next shiny thing will come along, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I want to do this instead.
Yeah, he really is. I'm glad he admits it.
So impressionable. So it doesn't necessarily sting for as long as it would with some other people. But yeah, Anthem was my biggest thing, mainly because it was Destiny at that time, and it was like, here's competition, here's healthy competition. I didn't look at it as the Destiny killer. I looked at it as, this is going to take mechanics from Destiny. This is going to take everything that I love and just put it in a different universe and give us a different outlook on it, and give us all these different abilities and so many different new classes. And yeah, everyone knows what happened with it.
I actually think that's a good point to note about healthy competition for Destiny. Competition is good. Competition encourages improvements, encourages whatever. If you look at it, Destiny hasn't actually got any competition.
No.
Like, Destiny has its issues and people complain about it, and Reddit is an echo chamber and great. But if you actually look at it, it has no real successful competition.
And that's why I think it was just so unfortunate about Anthem. Like, I couldn't even finish the story. Yeah. And I keep meaning to go back and just play it for what it was and not have just tempered expectations.
I remember when Anthem did come out, though, like the night it came, I played it the day it came out, and you hadn't got it yet. And you messaged me like, oh, so what's the verdict? And I didn't want to break your heart.
I haven't pre-ordered. I'm collecting it now. What do you think?
Yeah. Cancel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, BioWare.
Did you have any
more?
I
think no. They were just the two things that I wanted to mention on, because, like I said, it doesn't upset me. Like, Godfall came and went. I was excited for that on the announcement, but I don't follow a lot of the progress and the build up to games. I'd rather just go in blind, enjoy it for what it is. But that was one of those ones where I just lost interest. Ow. So I didn't bother. But yeah, no, that's oh god.
God awful 76.
That joke fell right there, Stephen.
That yours then, Dill? Yeah.
That's me. Yeah. No, that's all good.
Okay, so Dill's
biggest game in disappointment still leaving for pizza.
Yeah, Dill, if you want to leg it off for pizza, that's okay. We're gonna wrap it up in the next 5 minutes anyway, but if you do need to go for pizza, that's fine.
You're kind of forcing me out here.
No, or if you want to stay, you can stay. It's up to you.
No, I'll take my leave. I'll finish up.
Okay, thank you for joining. Thank you.
Cheers,
for
guys.
Good chat.
Cheers.
I love how we keep it under an hour. It's so refreshing.
We aim for an hour and 20 minutes this week, and we're gonna go over by about 10 minutes, so that's not so bad. So
hitting that sweet spot.
Thank you for joining.
Ever so slightly.
You got a lot.
Cheers, guys.
You got a lot off your chest, and we'll probably see you next week. Just
and
Dylan, everyone else you have to say.
Shit.
Right, enjoy your
Stephen,
pizza.
You have to stay after class. The principal wants to talk with you.
And I really hope when Dylan goes, it doesn't throw my fucking cropping off on the other thing.
It will. It's absolutely going to
be fine. It'll be fine. Right.
Cheers,
Enjoy-
guys.
enjoy
Enjoy the
your
rest of the
pizza.
show. Catch you guys later.
Alright.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not so bad. It's a little bit off. It's a little bit, but it's not so bad. Okay, so I'll fly through my game of disappointment because if I start talking, we'll be here till next week starts. So, Dill, the last couple of things that Dill mentioned of Anthem and Godfall, it kind of touches on a disappointment I kind of have, and that when a game is announced, and more often than not, if a game is announced and people get a little bit hyped for it, and I say, meh, I don't think it looks great. I have a feeling it's going to be bad. More often than not, I end up being right. And I wish that wasn't the case. Because Anthem was announced back at E3 2018, I think.
No, 16.
Oh, was it that long ago? Whatever it was.
It was like around Taken King
Oh,
time.
okay. Whenever it was. And I was in a group chat with Dill and our other friend, and they were like, "Oh my god, that looks amazing!" And I went, "Yeah, it looks great, but I have a feeling that this is the old Ubisoft fancy-looking trailer thing, and it's gonna come out, and it's gonna be meh." And it happened. The same happened with Fallout 76. They were like, "Oh my god, Fallout MMO, amazing!" I went, "Nah, it's gonna be bad." We know how that went. And Godfall was another one. And in fairness, I saw Godfall, I watched the trailer, and went, "Oh my god, that looks amazing. It looks like Souls-like combat in a MMO game. I can't wait." And then I saw actual gameplay and went, "It's a hack and slash." And I was really disappointed with that. However, I will say I was totally wrong about Jedi Fallen Order, and I've never been happier being wrong about a game being bad, because that was amazing. And there's a few other examples, but more often than not, and you know it, Stephen, if something gets announced and I say, nah, it tends to end up fucking shit.
You're a lot like me. You don't buy into hype until...
No, I buy into hype. Look at me with Cyberpunk. But...
To be fair, like, that lived up to your expectations.
It did, however, that is my next gaming disappointment. And it's not the game. My disappointment's in the fallout from the game release.
Fair enough.
I spoke about it quite a bit in episode 1, I think. But I love the game. I'm sad that I've finished it, and that 8 years of my life is like, where'd you go? And watching Luis play it again has been great, and I really can't wait to get in and do a full second playthrough. But the fallout from it being released, and yes, most of it was caused by the leadership within CD Projekt, but the game and the ambition of the game and all the fine details in it, like just the little things, and the hard work that all those ground staff developers, the foot soldiers, did for all those years developing it, they didn't deserve what came from that game being released and the fallout from that. And it's gotten even worse over the last few days, which we will touch on in the news. But they didn't deserve that. And I don't care who you are. You can hate the leadership within CD Projekt Red. You can hate what they did. You can run it down, and I'll never defend it because it was shady and some of it was disgusting. But the developers that worked their fucking asses off did not deserve the fallout from that. And quite frankly, most of the game that released, it's 80% finished, I will admit that. But what's there on anything but an old generation console didn't deserve the fallout that it got. And that's my biggest, just that fallout makes me fucking, it upsets me. So I'm gonna move on from it. One game that I bought into the hype on was No Man's Sky.
Oh, you idiot.
And not even that I bought into the hype. It was that we were sold a dream. But that dream was just a dream.
It's not even there right now. After years
I haven't
of
played it. I haven't gone back to it because I just don't want to. But I've heard that it is a lot better now. Hello Games, knuckled down. They fucking worked their asses off, and fair play to them. That game has had a redemption arc like I don't know what. It had an incredible redemption arc. But on release, I bought it day one, plugged it in, was so excited by the things that Sean Murray told me I could do. And don't get me wrong, the idea and the dream was incredible, but the execution on day one was so bad that I have never traded a game in quicker than that. I bought it when GameStop opened at 10 a.m. By 3 p.m., it was back on the shelf. And 6 months later, it was still on that shelf because no one wanted to fucking buy it. And then my other gaming disappointment that you said as well was Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. I was always, as a kid, teenager, I was a huge Metal Gear Solid fan. I love Kojima's work apart from Silent Hills PT because I'm a fucking little bitch. But I love Metal Gear Solid as a franchise. I even enjoyed Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance despite it being...
I love that game.
I loved it. It was terrible. It was awful. But I enjoyed it because it was a game in the Metal Gear universe. And even Ground Zeroes came out, and I thought I enjoyed what we got. I knew it was a demo. It was a prequel. It was a prequel mission to the Phantom Pain. I played the hell out of Ground Zeroes. I played the absolute hell out of it. I actually had a pretty high world record for speedrunning it because I used to speedrun it. It's on Facebook. You can find it yourself. But when Phantom Pain came out, yes, Phantom Pain in a lot of ways was a fantastic game. It was one of the best sandboxes ever made in a game, but it wasn't a Metal Gear game. It just did not It just didn't feel like a Metal Gear game. And maybe one week when Dylan isn't joining us because he's not a Metal Gear fan, we could do an episode on Metal Gear Solid. I need to do some research into some of the more extended lore because who has a clue what's actually going on in Metal Gear Solid? Not even Kojima does. But yeah, Phantom Pain just didn't feel like a Metal Gear Solid game.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, it just didn't. And it's unfinished. It's still unfinished, and it will forever be unfinished. Unless somebody buys Konami and sells it to PlayStation, and then PlayStation wrap it up and say, "Here you go, Hideo, happy Christmas." Anyway, we're at an hour and a half. I'm gonna do quickfire. I'm gonna do some quickfire on the news of the week. Some of it was good, some of it was not so good. We'll discuss some of the stuff quickly if you wish to, but I think we should try wrap this up in the next 10 minutes maximum.
Yeah.
So, first bit of news, I'll start with the bad and then go through the good and then get to the weird. So the first bit of news was the CD Projekt Red cyber attack, which has led to the source codes for many of their games being compromised and sold, unfortunately for them and again for the developers that worked on it. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of ironic that the company that produced the game about corporate conglomerate, all this, I love the irony of it, but it's not a good thing for them.
It's really not.
But the damage is somewhat minimized by the fact that their source code for at least The Witcher 3 is locked up within Red Engine. The Gwent game is fucked. We are going to see so many clones of that come out because it's built in Unity.
Have you looked into it? Like, what actually went on? I haven't looked too deep into it apart from what I've seen on Twitter.
So I do know that it was an internal network breach, which is why consumer data has not been touched, which is good for us.
Oh yeah.
So, you don't need to reset your GOG account or anything. Now, how they got in, I don't know what the vulnerability was in particular. But it did allow them to take the source codes, but those source codes are useless without the engine. And because CDPR develop internally with their own engine, most of their games will be safe from having some sort of clone made of it. But even then, CDPR uses GOG, which has no DRM, so piracy is not a big deal to CDPR anyway. So this isn't a massive hit to them. And the only reason why source codes would be a huge loss is if they had trade secrets in it. So if CDPR had a way of bringing in ray tracing without an RTX graphics card or any other technology that has yet to be released, that would be a massive financial blow to them. But they don't have that. So
It's interesting to
this is
see
probably
how it unfolds. All right.
yeah.
And hopefully they recover from it. Hopefully they recover from the last 3 months.
Yeah, it's gonna take a while with the fallout from Cyberpunk. I really think this thing, the source code leak, is nothing to them. I don't think it's gonna be a big deal.
I don't know enough to comment on it, which is why I'm keeping my mouth shut for once.
So I don't think it will be a big deal. I think Gwent will suffer only because it will have clones developed on the mobile market. But I really don't think it's a huge deal for them, and I hope I'm right on that. But we'll see.
Anyway, I'll move on to the weird. This was news that nobody expected to see today, or any day for that matter. Pokemon Day is in a couple of weeks, and there's a virtual concert with Post Malone of all people. Maybe Post Malone. I know, right?
Post Malone maybe sounds like Pokemon if your mouth was full.
Yeah. I've been throwing balls and catching Weedles. I feel just like a bug catcher, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not gonna play it because there's gonna be music and that. But yeah, bit weird news that.
Well, actually, wasn't Katy Perry part of the 25th anniversary recently as well?
I don't know. I know this is 25th anniversary.
I think Katy Perry was in an ad with them.
Okay.
So
anyway,
maybe they're just going through a checklist.
Weird one. Very weird one.
Very weird.
I'm not going to open up the article for this one, but E3 is pushing forward for this year. In that there is an E3 virtual present whatever showcase on. Jeff Keighley's Summer of Madness is also coming back this year. There's a new year, new color, so that was quite successful last year in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He really kept us interested throughout. It was more than the summer in the end, and it kept us interested in the first few months of all the uncertainty. So, thanks, Jeff. But yeah, look, I'm looking forward to new games being announced. I think E3. The one thing I did kind of giggle about was that E3 are asking developers to pay a 5-figure sum to be part of it. And come on, man.
E3 are so broke. That's gonna be gone soon.
And that's so unfortunate. Like, it's something that I always. So E3, for anyone who doesn't know, most people do, it was a trade show for stakeholders in the media for a lot of years, and then in recent years they opened it up to the public. And I would love to go to E3, not so I could stalk anybody that I want to meet or anything like that, but I would love to go to E3. And unfortunately that's not possible right now. So hopefully it does. Hopefully they can regroup and survive and I don't know, change the vision of what the event is supposed to be, because it's a bit in the past at the moment.
Yeah.
Anything else to say?
Nope.
No. I'm looking forward to it though, because I love E3. I love staying up till 4 o'clock in the morning watching PlayStation's press conference on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
What? I know,
E3,
PlayStation aren't gonna be there. I know.
Yeah.
Right, I will do the bad news for some first, and then I'll go to the last bit of exciting news. Jason Schreier released an article this week. Everyone knows Jason Schreier releases good articles. And this one is that EA is deciding the fate of Anthem this week. So for anyone who's not aware, Anthem went through a lot of uncertainty after its launch. They put together a team of 30 people to develop Anthem Next, which is supposed to fix the game. However, EA are apparently reviewing that this week and will decide if it's going to progress and proceed and be released at some point, or if they're just going to kill it. My money would be on the latter.
Yep, like a truck to a final boss.
Like a truck to a final boss.
Yeah, no, I don't see that coming out now. Well, for them, unfortunately, and you feel bad for the devs, but
I really do. I feel bad for the people who worked on it. BioWare release good games. Like, there's no question of that. BioWare do make great games. And it's unfortunate. It's also unfortunate for, like, if it gets shut down, they put 30 people on the project. EA is fucking humongous. And they put 30 people. Like, did you really want to fix it? Anyway, I think Anthem is as good as dead, and if I'm wrong, then great. I won't be playing it anyway. And then the last bit of good news was that Ratchet and Clank Ripped Apart finally got a launch day. Woo!
But the bad news,
it's not technically delayed because it never got an initial launch thing.
I didn't say it was delayed.
It's June 11th. The cover art is fabulous. It has a collector's edition, a digital collector's edition where you get some nice shiny stuff. But June is quite a ways away, unfortunately, and it is outside of what I would consider the launch window. But I can't wait for that game. June 11th, though. Looking forward to it. And that's where I'm going to stop talking.
Well, just real rapid fire, quick fire news is that we may potentially be getting Final Fantasy VII Remake DLC.
Maybe. I didn't want to discuss it too much because
just to throw it out there because we find out in 2 days what we're getting.
Will you be watching the concert?
I think it's at like 2 in the morning here, isn't it?
I don't know. No, I wouldn't assume so. I would have assumed it's early in the morning.
If it's early,
it's in Tokyo. It's been broadcast from Tokyo, I imagine. No?
Yeah, it is.
I actually meant to ask that today, but hopefully we do get that news about some Final Fantasy remake. Because shiny stuff, PC port.
We said PC port or PS5 upgrade is kind of the most we'd get, but DLC and that name, First Soldier.
There's been a lot of stuff trademarked this week that would be linked to either Sephiroth or Zaki Boy.
If we get Zack's DLC, anyway, we would talk about this for hours, but just
that's another topic for a day when Dylan abandons and stuff. Is there anything else you wanted to mention before we? Actually, one thing I want to mention in case you do, before you do, is that the Epic Games Spring Showcase was on this evening. I had planned on watching it to discuss some things on this. However, they had technical issues, and I haven't watched it yet, except for Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3 are coming to the Epic Games Store in March, which is kind of cool. Can't wait for the mods, even though I never played it. Donald Duck is going to be everywhere. So I'm going to go watch that with a curry, and that's my night sorted. Is there anything you want to say, Stephen, and then you can close off if you wish.
No, I think that's it. When you said about the Kingdom Hearts, I'd love to play that on PC. My God,
I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game.
I love Kingdom Hearts. My God. But anyway, now I will sign us off. So if you have stayed with us until now, thank you very much for tuning in. And if you're one of the few people who've stayed with us each week, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And until then, we'll speak to you next week. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.